Hello there, fellow truth seekers. This is Doug coming to you once again on this here Shabbat. I hope all of you have had a blessed week and that everything's went well with you. I thank you folks for watching the videos and joining with me to study and learn Elohim's Word together. Thank you for the comments that you leave. And thank Elohim for the opportunity to do this. Of course, this week I'm kind of a little tired. It's been a busy week and just a lot of strain and stress. But I don't want to bother you folks with that. But anyway, I kind of just want to start out by talking a little bit about some of the current events, of course. And the last time I talked a little bit about the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, and I should have thought about those folks that had loved ones that were injured, and one of them died. I've heard some stuff about that too, about that guy that supposedly died. He was being projected as being a firefighter or something, but he was like a volunteer fireman. I mean, he was not a full-time fireman or anything like that, but that he actually worked for some companies right there near where that assassination attempt occurred, and that this guy was supposedly held patents on some really advanced stuff, glass making and plastics for like jet fighters and advanced aircraft and stuff. And that maybe there was more to this than just the attempted assassination of Trump. Maybe it was an attempt to or that they really succeeded in what they were really trying to do, which was assassinate this guy that had all these patents. And from what I understand, that right after that, the FBI went into these companies, went in there with thumb drives and was downloading stuff off of their computers and all this stuff, and the ties and all, people that are wanting this technology and all that. I'm just saying that's, I don't know whether it's true or not, but I know that's one of the things that somebody has brought up about it, that it might have been more to it than just they might have been trying to get a 2-for-1 there, or use that as the pretext for taking this guy out. I don't know, but I know there's a lot of shady stuff surrounding it, and you can't really get. It just seems like you can't really get a straight answer from anybody anywhere. From the FBI or the Secret Service, or and the woman that was the head of the Secret Service resigned. Well, if there was some kind of an inside plot here, then that woman don't need to just be, she needs to be in jail, and anybody involved in it. But you can see that obviously they're trying to do a cover up. I mean, they're trying to do damage control or whatever as much as they possibly can. But for those people that had injured loved ones and lost that that man that was killed, my sympathy goes out to you. I hope that Yahweh will comfort you. But one of the things I was wanting to kind of bring out this week a little bit, and before I get into the study, concerning Trump again, is that first off, he's openly said he's not no Christian, and then the other thing that you got to look at about him is the people that he is surrounding himself with. Is J.D. Vance. Look into his background with the surveillance stuff, the surveillance state. And the fact that, there's video footage of him saying he did not like Trump. So why is he his vice president? Obviously, there's some I guess, political or monetary leverage being used. People that, like that Larry Tiller or whatever his name is, that J.D. Vance is real closely connected with. He's, got lots of money, and so, donating. And now there's talk that he's going to probably, there's a good chance that he may pick Jamie Dimon, the guy that is the head CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, which is probably the largest bank in the United States, probably, or next to it. I think maybe Citibank is, but largest banks in the world, or up there with the largest banks in the world. And then Larry Fink, I think there was talk about Jamie Dimon being the Treasury Secretary and Larry Fink being the Secretary of the Treasury, or Jamie Dimon being the Treasurer and Larry Fink being the Secretary of the Treasury. Now talk about putting the fox in charge of the hen house. Jamie Dimon had, before he became CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, had been on the board of the Federal Reserve Bank. And, of course, the Federal Reserve, privately owned bank. I think J.P. Morgan Chase is one of the main stockholders in it, along with the Citibank of New York, which is the Kuhn Loebs. And I think the Rockefellers have an interest in it, and the Rothschilds. And but every bank that is a member of the Federal Reserve System is a stockholder in it. They have an interest in it. But you see how, if Trump says, "Oh, I'm going to get rid of the swamp and the deep state and all that stuff," and I've talked about that before, about the controlled opposition and all that stuff. That really behind the scenes, if you go back in the back room or something, the Democrats and the Republicans are all probably back there, patting each other on the back and drinking, toasting champagne and all that, because ultimately they're just figureheads. They're puppets. They're not controlling anything. The control comes from on up above them, and the banksters, the banking cartel. And I guarantee you, if you do a little bit of research, you can still find some of this stuff. They're slowly, the AI, I think, is scouring. They're using AI to scour the data banks, because there's data banks everywhere. It's not like it's just one big central data bank somewhere. No, there's probably millions of data banks all over the world. So for them to go scour it and remove information and stuff, it's not an easy task. But they're doing it though. They're slowly going and removing stuff from data banks. And this big breach they just had last week, where the airlines were down, and they said it was like 8 million computers that afterwards didn't work anymore. Well, see, I think that was one of these data grabs, where they're trying to go into people's personal computers and stuff, because a lot of this information that they're trying to wipe off the system. Individuals like myself that go in and whenever we find some of this stuff, we save it. So that it can't be completely erased from memory. It's just like all the pictures and video footage of 9/11. before that, there was no planes crashed into those buildings. That was added into the video footage of the media. But there's video footage that people have that they got, that were out on the street that wasn't news organizations or nothing like that. They got footage of these buildings having explosions in them, and there's no planes. And the same with the Pentagon. They got footage of a missile hitting the Pentagon, not an airplane. But they see they got to try to scrub that stuff. Not that it really, when it gets down to the nitty gritty and they get control, it ain't going to make no difference. But right now, while they still ain't got all their I's dotted and T's crossed yet. So they don't want anything to interfere with their plans. And so again, the way that they work this is they keep you occupied with the two sides, the left and the right, or whatever, the Democrats, Republicans. And as I've said before, they're the two paths of the world. Okay, and they both lead. One's a dark path. The other one's considered by the occultic people. One's the white path. The other one's the black path. But they both go to the same place. They go to the pit. And again, it's just in how they, and it really comes down to these people are after power because they really don't, they're not in control like the president and these people in Congress and the Senate and all that stuff. They just there to make you think that something's going on, but really they don't do anything. They don't decide anything. Whatever they do or pass in there is what comes down from above them. The shadow people, the ones that you don't hear about. And of course, I've been doing a little biblical study in here about, of course, the Spirit of Antichrist. There are many Antichrists. And we'll look at some of these scriptures because these people are Antichrist. They're anti-Mashiach. Oh, there's one that will come in his own name that they'll accept. This false Messiah. But it is not the true Messiah, the true Hamashiach. It's not. And he speaks, blasphemous things. He denies the true Elohim. And that's what the spirit of Antichrist is. We can look here in the first epistle of John. The first epistle of John in chapter 2. Let's see, it's chapter 2, verse 18. Little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. Okay. And then verse 22. Who is a liar, but he that denieth that Yahushua is Hamashiach. He is Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son. And then we can look at chapter 4, verse 3. And every spirit that confesseth not that Yahushua HaMashiach is come in the flesh is not of Elohim, and this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard, that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. Okay? Now, in the Revelation, and I've talked about this before, about those who say they're Jews and are not, but they are of the Synagogue of Satan. They were already around back in the days of Mashiach, in the days of John, because in Revelation he brings this out, and I'm going to show you where in you can go look this up. Lord Jacob Rothschild. He's dead now, but several years before he died, he came out and he said that the Rothschild family was the ones who were behind the establishment of the Zionists in Israel in 1948. They were the ones behind it. Going on back. I mean, not just right at that period, but going back into the 1800s. They were already working on plans to get this state of Israel. And if you look at the flag, that star on there and all that, that's a Star Rim fan. That's not no Star of David. David had no star. But that's what they want you to believe. And that because I'm going to show you in Scripture where the Father says that He will bring these people back. He will bring scattered Israel back and the scattered people from Judah. Well, He will do it Himself with His own arm. But I believe it's going to be during tribulation. I don't believe, it's going to be before then. I believe it's, that they're going to be, and they're scattered out all over the world. It says that from the nations. Okay, and I've showed you in Scripture before where I believe who scattered Israel is, where they went, where they are today. And through Genesis chapter 48 and 49, the blessing of Jacob on his children and the double portion that he gave to Joseph, and about how his two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, would be a great multitude of nations, and the kingship should rest with Ephraim, and that Manasseh would be a great nation. But they're going to be gathered back into the land over there by the Father, by Yahuwah Elohim. And I'll show you this in the book of Ezekiel, but I wanted to show you some other scriptures here about these ones who, I got a couple more scriptures about the Antichrist, Spirit of Antichrist. It's in 2 John 1:7. For many deceivers are entered into the world who confess not that Yahushua HaMashiach is come in the flesh. This is the deceiver and an antichrist. Okay. And then you have 2 Thessolonians, and of course I've read this here recently concerning the so-called rapture and all that stuff. It says in verse 3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worshipped, so that he is Elohim, sitteth in the temple of Elohim, showing himself that he is Elohim. And I've talked about that too, what I believe that is talking about, that with the chipping and all that stuff, that he will, in this Kundalini Spirit that is going everywhere now. I mean, it's invading the churches, and they're thinking that they have the Ruach HaKodesh, and they don't. They got this Kundalini Spirit coming in there. Because these people want signs. They want signs and feelings and all this kind of stuff, and that's not how the Scripture is. It's not, This is His Word, and this is how He reveals Himself to us, is through His Word. And through our fellowship with Him on His Sabbaths. I've talked about that too. That, He, in Ezekiel, He also tells us in there, that it is a sign to those who are His. It's a sign. And that's how He, when we gather together on His Shabbat, on Sabbath, and we, worship Him and call on Him, He says, where two or more gathered in my name, there I am in the midst. He's there with us. And He is imparting His Spirit into us and His Word into us. And, helping us to have understanding about His Word. And that's how we fellowship with Him. Just like, the way that He did, and of course they, continue to profane His Sabbaths and all that stuff. That's why they got cast out of the land. That's why they got scattered out. And they're still doing it. They're still profaning His Sabbath. They're not keeping it. They're still worshiping idols of wood and stone. The house of Israel, that's, who I'm talking about here. And, because they're scattered out, but yet they're still doing that same stuff that got them cast out and, kicked out of the land to begin with. All right, but this is something that we can also, we can take comfort in. And this is in 1 John, that even though this is all 1 John chapter 4, verse 4, ye are of Elohim, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world heareth them. We are of Elohim. He that knoweth Elohim heareth us. He that is not of Elohim heareth not us. Hereby know we the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. The ones who will hear what I'm saying, they are of Elohim. But the ones who won't, but they will hear what the world has to say, they are of the world. They're of that spirit of Antichrist. And of course he's talking about hearing him, hearing what John is laying down here. Everyone that loveth is born of Elohim. He that loveth not knoweth not Elohim, for Elohim is love. And this was manifested, the love of Elohim toward us, because that Elohim sent his only begotten Son into the world that we might live through him. Herein is love. Not that we love Elohim, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins. Beloved, if Elohim so loved us, we are also to love one another. And that's one of the ways too that that how do you know that you love Elohim? For whosoever believeth that Yahushua is the Hamashiach is born of Elohim, and everyone that loveth him that begot loveth him also that is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of Elohim, when we love Elohim and keep his commandments. For this is the love of Elohim, that we keep his commandments, and the commandments are not grievous. So, if we love him, then we keep his commandments. We can't say that we love him and not keep them, because we're a liar if we don't. Just wanted to throw that in there. But, take, comfort in 1 John 4:4. Because greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world. All right, now, in Isaiah, I'm going to look here in Isaiah. This is in chapter 28, verses 18 to 22. And this is where they make this covenant with death and hell. It says, and your covenant with death shall be disannulled, and your agreement with hell shall not stand. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, then ye shall be trodden down by it. For the time that it goeth forth, it shall make you for morning by morning. Shall it pass over by day and by night, and it shall be a vexation only to understand the report. For the bed is shorter than that a man can stretch himself on it, and the covering narrower than that he can wrap himself in. For Yahuwah shall rise up as in Mount Perazim. He shall be wroth as in the valley of Gibeon, that he may do his work, his strange work, and bring to pass his act, his strange act. Now therefore be ye not mockers, lest your bands be made strong. For I have heard from Yahuwah Elohim of hosts a consumption even determined upon the whole earth. Now this is stuff this is going to happen during the tribulation here. And we can see where in it's Revelation chapter 6 and 8. Revelation chapter 6. Revelation chapter 6 and verses 8 through 11. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with the sword, with hunger, and with death, and with the beast of the earth. And the beast of the earth is, these little things you can't see, these little organisms. I mean, we've already seen them unleash this stuff, and it's becoming more and more people who have their eyes open are aware that pandemic was orchestrated, and they intentionally released that. And see, people misunderstand this scripture. They think that they're given power to kill 1/4 of the earth. No, it says here, and power was given unto them over. In other words, they're going to be ruling over or controlling 1/4 of the earth. And I believe it's this religious system that's coming, this harlot system, and that they go out, because if you look here in the next, verse 9, and when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altars the souls of them that were slain for the word of Elohim, and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Yahuwah, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were words should be fulfilled. So these people are killed by this death in hell. These are the true believers here that they keep the commandments of Elohim and his testimony. That's what their testimony is. The true Sabbath, and not idols, and the second commandment and the fourth commandment. They keep in all this, and they're killed for it. I mean, if you listen to and I think it's House Bill 6908 or something like that. They're trying to pass to ban this. Of course, it would be challenged in the Supreme Court if somebody tried that, because freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and all that. But that's why these verses follow after that, death and hell, because they are going out and they're killing believers. Well, who is this? Well, people say, and when you read there in Revelation 17 about the harlot and all the blood, that she has shed of the saints, it's the Catholic Church. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, well, there's others that have purple robes and all that kind of stuff. No, they may do. But I'm telling you, the only one that you can historically show that has been killing true believers since they became a religion has been the Catholics. They have martyred millions upon millions of people for heresy. And they hunted them down. They went, anywhere that they could find them. I mean, there was some. That's why we have this. That's why this has been preserved, is because there was some of them that managed to get into places and way up in the high places, like up in the Alps and places like that they were able to get away from them. And I believe that's the same reason why that I believe that that Islam is a branch off of the Catholics. That they were created for the sole purpose of going out and killing Christians. And they did. And I've talked about that. I mean, people, it's a matter of historical history. You can go look this stuff up. You don't have to take my word for it. Go look it up, where Islam had gotten established over there in Arabia and in the Middle East. And they grew powerful enough. They went right down through Egypt, over through Libya, Algiers, Morocco, into Spain, Portugal, on up through France, up into, and they killed millions. And they finally were able to stop them up in Austria. I believe it's where they stopped them at. And then they retreated and went back across down there, back into North Africa and back across over into the Middle East. Because their intent was to go all the way around and back over into the Middle East that way, not stop, right on over into Turkey and back down into the Middle East. And so, the people that reestablished the nation of Israel over there in the Zionists, the Rothschild family. I think that they're the ones that are the Synagogue of Satan, that say they're Jews and they're not. I mean, like here in Revelation chapter 2, verse 9, I know thy works, and thy tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And when you go look up a lot of these people that are they're in Europe, the European royalty and all that, the muckety mucks. They're all related, and they all if you go and look at some of the genealogies that Lawrence Gardner, the official genealogist of the royals in Europe, and also of the Rothschilds and all of these elitist families, the banks, the banking cartel families. If you look it up in there, they they take their history way back. Back to this time here. And some of them try to claim that they are, descended from Christ, from Messiah and Mary Magdalene. What was it that the movie with Tom Hanks? I can't remember it now, but anyway, where they're trying to make that claim, that they were married and had children, and these people claim that they're descended, and then some of them claim that they're descended from Nimrod, Nephilim, and of course the story of Nimrod and Semiramis and Tammuz. Just look that up. The dying god, that rise up. That's what the winter solstice. The winter solstice, the god dies, and then at the spring equinox he comes back. And all this kind of stuff. It's all satanic stuff. And of course they are, these people that claim they're Jews today, but they're not. And also here in Revelation chapter 3, verse 9, behold, and he's addressing the church of Philadelphia. It says, starting at verse 7 in Revelation chapter 3, and to the angel of the church of Philadelphia write, these things saith he that is holy, he that is true, and he that hath the key of David, he that openeth, and no man shutteth, and shutteth, and no man openeth. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. So, and see, it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And so, and this is not a rapture. This is, they will be taken to a place of safety, out in the wilderness somewhere. The people that are the church of Philadelphia. But it says, because thou hast kept the word, and he may take them in death. Before these things come to pass, he may take them on out in death. Doesn't say how he's going to take them. But it's not in a rapture. I will also keep them from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Tribulation. And it's talking about all the world. So, and now I'm going to show you where in Ezekiel, and this is in Ezekiel chapter 20, and verses 30 through 49. And he's telling Ezekiel this. Now, of course, Ezekiel lived far after the house of Israel had been scattered. So, this is obviously prophetic, and it is being written for the scattered house of Israel. It says, wherefore say unto the house of Israel. This is Ezekiel chapter 20, beginning at verse 30. Wherefore say unto the house of Israel, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, are you polluted after the manner of your fathers, and commit ye whoredom after their abominations? See, they're still doing it. They're still going after, polluted after the manner of the fathers, which is idolatry. That's what the whoredom is. Going after false gods. After their abominations, which is making offerings to them and burning incense and all that kind of stuff. For when ye offer your gifts, when you make your sons to pass through the fire, ye pollute yourselves with all your idols, even unto this day. And shall I be inquired of by you, O house of Israel? As I live, saith Yahweh Elohim, I will not be inquired of by you. In other words, these people that are doing this stuff will try to inquire of him. I'm not going to be inquired of you. I'm not going to hear nothing you have to say. The only thing that he was going to hear from these people is, the prayer of repentance. That's, all these people that, when trouble comes, they get down and start praying and all. He don't hear them because they are doing these abominable things. And he says, verse 32, and that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all that ye say. We will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone. As I live, saith Yahweh Elohim, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So will I plead with you, saith Yahweh Elohim, and I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant, and I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and ye shall know that I am Yahuwah. As for you, O house of Israel, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, go ye, serve ye every one his idols, and hereafter also. If ye will not hearken unto me, but pollute ye my holy name, no more with your gifts and with your idols. For in my Kodesh mountain, in the mountain of the height of Israel, saith Yahweh Elohim, there shall all the house of Israel, all of them in the land, serve me. There will I accept them, and there will I require your offerings, and the first fruits of your oblations, with all your Kodesh things. I will accept you with your sweet savor, when I bring you out from the people, and gather you out of the countries wherein ye have been scattered. And I will be sanctified in you before the heathen. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh, when I shall bring you into the land of Israel, into the country for the which I lifted up mine hand to give it to your fathers. And there shall ye remember your ways and all your doings wherein ye have been defiled. And ye shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for all your evils that ye have committed. And ye shall know that I, Yahweh, when I have wrought with you for my name's sake, not according to your wicked ways, nor according to your corrupt doings, O ye house of Israel, saith Yahweh Elohim. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face toward the south, and drop thy word toward the south, and prophesy against the forest of the south field. And this is talking about people. And say to the forest of the south, Hear the word of Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, Behold, I will kindle a fire in thee, and it shall devour every green tree in thee, and every dry tree. The flaming flame shall not be quenched, and all faces from the south to the north shall be burned therein, and all flesh shall see that I, Yahweh, have kindled it. It shall not be quenched. Then said I, Ah, Yahweh Elohim, they say of me, doth he not speak in parables? And that's because he's telling people, delivering this to people. They're the Jews, the people of Judah that are in captivity there with him. He's delivering it to them, and they thinking he's speaking in parables, but he's not. And so he is intending on, and because he's saying that the heathen will know. They will know. To see, most of the people of the world, they don't know. The United Nations done that, the Balfour Declaration, all that stuff. But here it's saying that when he does this, the whole world is going to know it, that he is the one that did it. And so those people, those Zionists and all, of the Synagogue of Satan, are the ones that are the Spirit of Antichrist that's in the world. And of course there's many of them. It's not just them, but the people that are with them, like they're, because they're in Psalm 2, and of course I've read this several times, but it never hurts to hear it again. And I mean, if it don't sound like what's going on with these people, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. And he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. Yahweh shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. And how do they do it? Through the United Nations. I mean, where else could they conspire together? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together. What are they doing it at? The United Nations. I mean, that's where all of the kings of the earth gather. And I mean, everything that they do is against Israel. Well, and I've said that these Zionists, that's what they want. They established that over there so that the true Jewish people that are left, I mean, I don't think there's that many of them, that went back over there because they looked at it as an opportunity to go back to their native land. But there's a lot of them there that are not. And I've read that too. They're in Genesis, I mean, the curse of Canaan, where he cursed Canaan, and he said that they should be a servant in the house of Shem, and in the house of servants to Shem and servants to Japheth, and Japheth shall dwell in the tents of Shem. And that's, and when you look at the lineage of Japheth, I think it was a great-great-grandson or great-grandson of Japheth was Ashkenaz. So you can do with it with what you will. I mean, I'm just trying to get you to understand that these people that are political people, they are deceiving us. They're deceiving people into believing, they're going to deliver you, they're going to save America, and they're going to, get rid of the secret shadow government, the deep state, they're going to do it. They ain't going to do none of that stuff. And I guarantee you, a lot of these laws that the Democrats have gotten passed and all that stuff, that'll be one of the tells. Do they reverse these things? And they're stuff that has taken freedom away from us. Took us one more step to slavery. That's the thing is that they'll let the Democrats in, and the Democrats will get all these leftist laws passed and shot through the Congress and all that stuff, and the president will sign off on it, and then the Republicans come in. Oh, we're gonna make change. And the thing is they never go and change any of these laws that the Democrats, if they're so against them and so against what they stand for, why don't they go in there and change these things that they do? These laws they pass, these surveillance laws, and these laws that give them more control over our lives. I'm just saying that the spirit of Antichrist is alive and well, and there are many Antichrists. It don't have to be necessarily be the Antichrist, the one that sets himself up to be God or whatever. I'm talking about the people that deny he came in the flesh, that he comes into us, denies the Father. And I mean, these people that were up there, this Hindu woman that was up there making this Hindu or Buddhist or whatever she was, prayer to their God, and she said the one true God. Well, for those people and for the others that are there with them, that are following with them, that are in league with them, it is their God. It is their true God, but it's not mine. The Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the true Elohim, the Creator, Yahuwah Elohim. Yeah, that's my Elohim. And they did, none of them people said nothing about it. I mean, and they had a bunch of others, that came on there from what I understand, saying prayers and stuff, these ecumenicals and all that stuff. And I looked at, done a little bit of researching on the World Council of Churches. There's 350 churches that are members of it, with like 500 or 600 million members. I mean, that's quite a lot. And the Catholics are not directly a member of it, but they do serve on boards. There are Catholic bishops and priests and all that serve on boards in the Council of Churches. And their goal is unity. Unity. We need to be united. And and not any, and that's the gist of just about all of these Protestant, and there's 20,000 or more denominational churches. 20,000. I mean, that's insane. Which that goes to show you there is no unity. There's no unity in these. But the problem is that, and you do have these churches, there's some of them that's having these schisms right now, and it's over, this transgender and homosexuality and abortion and different hot topics that are going on right now. That there's, half of them want to keep, want to do these things, and the other half says, they believe what this says, even though they're deceived too, because they don't keep the Sabbath. They don't keep the commandments. And they do these pagan holidays. But see, that's just it. I mean, Satan, wants to create these schisms in there, just keep them divided, divide and conquer, divide and conquer. And more churches are going to be uniting with these ecumenicals. And we already see this, religious from all around, this coexist kind of thing that is, in all of these religions. That they, we all really worship the same God. Why can't we come together? Well, they will whenever they, have, this spirit that is moving right now. This, I guess it would be that Kundalini Spirit that is moving through, because that's what Hasatan's going to do ultimately, is to try and present the world with a false trinity. Hasatan, the Kundalini, and their Christ or whatever, their Jesus. And because that's what he does. He seeks to copy and mimic what the Father does, to impersonate it. And when you get, and it's like I said before, it says that they do all miracles and lying wonders and all this kind of stuff. Well, people think of miracles as, a lot of times as like calling fire down out of heaven. And of course that's easily done, now with the technology they have and all that stuff. That's nothing. But there's also miracles that are less obvious kind of miracles, like making peace. He confirms an agreement, with the people for 7 years. This peace agreement, and then he breaks it 3.5 years in, and that's part of that. What I read there in Ezekiel, in Isaiah about where they make a pact with death and hell, and then there in Revelation chapter 6, it says that death and hell. Well, I believe this is this religious system that is going to be going out, and that they make this agreement. What it's talking about there in Isaiah, they make this agreement with them because it calls it the overriding scourge. It's going across the earth and killing anybody that don't fall in line with their religion. Well, somehow or another they're going to make an agreement that they can do their sacrifices and all that kind of stuff. But at 7.5, at 3.5 years in, it says he causes the oblations to stop and the sacrifice to cease. And then that's when he, becomes indwelled by Satan and begins to say that he's God. And that's the reason too, Christ said, I come in my Father's name and you won't receive me, but one will come in his own name, him you will receive. And because this Antichrist, this peacemaker or whatever, is going to come in his own name, and confirm this agreement for 7 years, which is a peace agreement, because this overriding scourge, this religious system, is moving, and they're giving power over 1/4 of the people of the earth, and they use them to kill with the sword and with death and with pestilence, or with the beast of the earth. Well, I believe the beast it's talking about is microorganisms, because they could be considered beasts. I mean, they're more dangerous than any animal, way more, and you can't see them. So they make some kind of agreement with them, because if they don't, they'll kill them. So their back's against the wall. So they make this agreement with death and hell, but they don't really, their intention ain't to go along with it. But they kind of got their back against the wall, so they ain't got much choice but to go along with it. And of course, a part of this agreement it's probably going to be something to do with disarmament and stuff. The United Nations will want to disarm all these people around there to make peace. But, and Israel's probably like, well, we ain't gonna have no choice. We either gotta go along with it and make peace and disarm or whatever. But they probably ain't completely disarmed. They just probably make it appear that they are. And because there's another scripture, and I didn't really get it, but it says that they make this pact, but that it ain't in their heart to fulfill it. That they're not really intending on it. But they do it because they really don't have much of a choice. The whole world's against them, which if saying the whole world is talking about the United Nations, because they're united together, and so, but when the house of Israel returns to the land, it will not be some man-made organization that does it. It's going to be Elohim that does it, and the world will know it. And I think it's during that period of time in there when during the tribulation period, and when it really starts getting bad, and people will have to flee from places like here. The house of people from the house of Israel will be drawn to flee. And he says to the wilderness. Okay, well, and he says that Ezekiel says that he will draw them to the wilderness just like he did when he took their fathers out of Egypt into the wilderness, to reason with them, to plead with them. So it sounds to me like he's going to draw them right back over to there. Same wilderness. I may be wrong, but that's kind of what it indicates to me, that wilderness there between Egypt and Israel, and that they'll be drawn back over there, and the remnant of the Jews, the ones that haven't went back over there already, but there's still some of them scattered out too, that will be drawn back over there. But there's some that's over there now that they just went over there of their own accord. They didn't, because they wanted to be back in the land over there. And I think that the Jews, the ones that say they're Jews or not, that's the idea, is to get them over there so they can destroy them. They want to destroy them. Because Christ told the Jews, not the house of Israel, the Jews, the house of Judah, told them that he would not return until they say, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." So, if you can get them all over there and get them into that place over there, then it'd be easier to destroy them now, wouldn't it? And do it under, false pretense. And I've, read some commentaries and stuff about this, and that was one of the reasons why some people think that they started this conflict there, and that they knew Hamas was going to do this, and they let it happen because they were having all of this division over there. I mean, they were having a real, civil war kind of, stuff that could start a civil war kind of thing going on. And it had to do with the courts and all. But once, this happened, well, that all dropped by the wayside. Because there are those over there that, a lot of these rabbis that are real Jews, that are Levites or whatever, they don't have no use for the Zionist. They don't buy into their thing. And they don't want nothing to do with it. Because that's, who is in control of the legal system, the law, and all that over there. I mean, that Supreme Court over there was built by the Rothschilds. That Supreme Court building over there, if you look at it, I mean, it's got pyramids on it, it's got all these Luciferian symbols all over it. I mean, if that don't tell you something, I mean, I don't know how much more you can do. And of course, they are the ones that are always pushing this anti-Semitism and anti-Zionist laws and all that kind of stuff. It's the Zionists. It's not the true Jewish people. I mean, the from the tribe of Judah. I mean, yeah, they don't want to be discriminated against and hated on and all that, but so they kind of just go along with it. But it's the Zionists that are the ones that are pushing all that, because they have so much power and money. They control the world banking. I mean, they are in, and they are the ones that have financed and fomented every war that's been fought, going back as far as, really, if you go back, no telling how far, thousands of years they've probably been doing it. And they changed their names too. They used to be called something else, and they changed their names. Why? So, it's in if you begin to look at the connections between Trump and all these other people, and look at his past, look at his father's past, look, and who he's been affiliated with. Oh, well, yeah, people, oh, well, yeah, he did, he said he did. Well, of course. What better way to get people to buy into you than to come out and confess, that I was in on, I was part of the system, but I was just working it because that's the way it's set up. I was just playing the system the way that it's set up to play. I didn't do anything illegal. And I know all these politicians and these banksters and these deep state people and all this stuff, I know all, yeah. Well, what better way to get people's confidence and all and trust than to, expose them. And there's something funny too, and it really, kind of seems like there might be a little something to it. Now, I don't know, I'd heard about the game before, this Illuminati card game. I heard about it years ago, but I'd kind of lost track about it, But now that all this stuff with Trump, this assassination attempt and all that stuff's come up, and they're showing these cards that, that come out in the 80s. And they're showing stuff that them cards was talking about, that's happened. I mean, it's actually happened in the last 4 or 5 years. And people are saying, well, how could they, how could this guy have not? Well, supposedly the man that come up with this, created this game, was raided by the FBI and all that, because they, were saying that he was hacking government computers or something to get this, get information and stuff. Well, but others say, that the Illuminati intentionally put this out to show you what their plan was. They sort of this unwritten law that they have to kind of tell you what they intend on doing. They have to reveal it. But the way that they reveal it is through symbols and stuff, like these cards. And of course it's got writing on there, and I mean a lot of stuff it says on there is kind of, kind of interesting, I mean, if you think about it. Now whether it's, has anything to it or not, I don't know. I mean, I hadn't really looked into it enough. But it is kind of interesting. And it's from what what they were saying on this little video clip I watched about it, was that it's hard to get a hold of these cards now. They've been trying to scrub them, and off of the internet. You can't, used to you could go on the internet and you could go on there and find all of the, images of all these cards, and now you can't. They're trying to get rid of it because, it probably does show stuff that they intend on doing. Or that they, and there was one card on there, and this was funny, that this card was from the 1980s, and it was a picture of the Statue of Liberty up to like here in water, and it showed the Manhattan skyline, but the World Trade Centers were gone. They wasn't there. So how did somebody in 1985 know that the World Trade Center buildings wasn't going to be there come 2001? So, well, it's because these people, they know what they intend on doing. And they plan, and the thing is that to the most average people, it's like, oh man, how could somebody do it? Well, because they plan this stuff over long periods of time, and it's generational. It's from one generation to the next that they've got this stuff planned out, and they've been following it. They've been doing it for a couple thousand years at least, and so they started their plan, and they've been continuously refining it and moving it forward. And there's times when they have setbacks, when they have have to step back, and then they begin to plod ahead, or they go around an obstacle or whatever, and they pick right back up and continue moving forward. And like I said, when you look at that letter that was from Albert Pike to Giuseppe Mazzini about how to plan these world wars and all this stuff, and how that's exactly what and we've had 2 world wars, and the way things are looking, we're going to have a 3rd one, and so that they can bring about the pure doctrine of Lucifer. Well, they were Illuminati, and of course I've talked about how the Illuminati was founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, and under the encouragement of the Rothschilds. They encouraged him, they financed him, and it was made up of all these bankers and elite from all over Europe, and the royalty and stuff. Of course there was some there in Germany that once they found out what they were up to, their globalist agenda and stuff like that, they got ran out. But they just went underground and infiltrated into, and supposedly the Freemasons didn't start until like 1717 or something like that. And so, the claims that it's been around for, forever, for thousands of years, going back to Egypt and all that stuff is malarkey. But there's been some form of this type of system going back into antiquity, but it wasn't called Freemasonry or nothing like that. It was just some other type of secret society that morphed into this Freemasonry, which if you look at the teachings of Freemasonry, I mean, they borrow from all around, everywhere. And of course, Albert Pike was a, openly confirmed Satanist. So they're really Satanist is what they are, but they have their order, their fraternal order, where they can all meet in secret and, discuss their agenda. And so these Illuminati people, they kind of just slid right into them, and so they're no longer an organization called the Illuminati, but they're still there. They're just embedded into the Freemasons at the higher levels, up at the top levels of it. And it's just a way that they could, because they call it Ancient Order of Free and Accepted Masons. And that means that here in the United States, they were accepted. It was accepted. And they're protected under the First Amendment, freedom of religion. They're because they are like a religious order or whatever, so they are protected under that. And it was them that are the ones that got that put in. It wasn't the Christians or the Puritans or somebody like that got them to put that in there. No, it was the Freemasons that got them to put it in there, so it could protect them. And there's Luciferian doctrine, and so we're coming. We can see that it's getting closer and closer. I mean, like the birth pains, the perilous times that we're in. And everything's being moved into place. That's what I'm saying. They I don't think the Antichrist per se is on the. I think he's already alive, but as far as being on, getting ready to jump into his place or whatever, I don't know. I really don't think it's, I think that they still have bits and pieces that they got to tie together. We got to get all these little knots tied together to actually bring it in. And so I think you're going to continue to see chaos and these weather issues and earthquakes and all that kind of stuff, because they're doing this stuff. They're doing it, and they're using it as they're using this, climate change as cover for what they've done, because it's gotten, they're still doing it. They're still doing it, and the side effects of it is causing ever crazier, more dangerous and destructive weather. And it's going to get to a point to where they can't control it anymore. They're right now they're still controlling it. They're still steering these hurricanes and and spawning these tornadoes and strengthening them and moving them in the direction they want them to go. But it's going to come a point where they're going to lose control of it, because they have so messed up the hydrological cycle and system of the earth, the weather and the wind and all, and it's going to backfire on them. And I think they already see it happening, and they know it is, and so they just continue doing it, because if they stop, there's no telling what might be the ramifications of it. They don't know. I don't think they know. I don't think anybody knows. But anyhow, just something to get you to think about. Because I mean, the stuff that around this Trump, portraying him like being a Christ, and putting him above Christ and stuff, man. I mean, that's not good. And these memes and all this kind of stuff. They got one that's got a depiction of the mainstream view of what Christ looks like with a patch on his ear. I mean, that ought to tell you something. But there's some people that are, on the verge of worshiping the man. And I mean, not just here in the United States, it's there, all around the world. I mean, I've seen comments from people, that they're almost making him out to be a god. And, and he don't do anything to discourage it. So, I'm going to put my trust in Yahweh Elohim and the Mashiach Nagi Yahushua, and only them. Not no man. And so with that, I love you folks. Thank you for joining me. I pray that you will be barachs, that you will have a blessed week. And as I always say, be good Bereans. Listen to what I say with a readiness of mind, but search the scriptures to see whether they're so or not. Because they've gone, Satan's gone all out to push a narrative and to make people believe a certain way. And if it doesn't fall in line with what scripture says, I'm not buying it. That's how you get deceived. You got to use the scriptures to keep from being deceived. And that's why there is going to be a push to get rid of them. Because that's the way that, with the scriptures and the Ruach HaKodesh to guide you, you can't be deceived. And so, they'll come after us eventually. I mean, that's coming. I mean, you can see that spirit. I mean, like these Olympics, man, they talk, which I wouldn't watch that garbage. Just like the Emmys and the Academy Awards and all that stuff. I do not watch any of that garbage. I'm not going to be giving them views. But that it was purely satanic and it was a mockery, mocking Christ and mocking his death and all that kind of stuff. They're at the Olympics in Paris. And then they wonder why these bad things are befalling them over there. Well, you can't mock Elohim and think that there's not ramifications for it. He's not mocked. Be ye not deceived. Elohim is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that also shall he reap. And if you sow that kind of stuff, and that includes nations, they sow that kind of stuff, then they reap what comes with it. So, but anyhow, I love you folks. I hope you'll be blessed and have a good week. And I'll see you again on the next Shabbat if Yahuwah is willing.